Good morning, Mr. Kevin Hambly. How's it going?
Good morning, Ace. It's going great, thanks.
First of all, thank you so much for doing this. It's such an honor to have you join us for this exclusive interview here on Bollywood.
Honor to be on, thank you.
How's everything?
I mean, it's 75 degrees or something. It's going to be 75 degrees today. It's sunny. I got a good volleyball team, kids that want to get better. My kids and family are happy. I mean, it's a good place, and we're in a good place.
Now, Kevin, today's interview here on Bollywood is going to be something different than what you're used to. Each time you talk to the press, it's almost always about you and the team. We're going to make it a little different this time. It's just going to be about Kevin Hambly and Coach Kevin Hambly.
Okay. Makes me nervous.
Don't be. It's pretty chill. How is it living in the Bay Area, first of all?
I love it. You know, I'm from Southern California, and so I know what California is, and I forgot, but I remembered as I got here how great the weather is and all that. But the Bay Area, I don't know, like the casual achievement that kind of you feel around this area. It's a very casual place. It's more laid back actually than Southern California, but people achieve at a high level. I really enjoy being around that, and you know, all the tech industry and the innovation and all that. It just, I don't know, inspires thought. It inspires innovation in yourself and challenges you to be better. And so I just like that. I like being around that for my family. I like being around that for myself and my staff. I just feel like we're being challenged all the time, and I'd like to grow, and that's a big deal, and it's fun.
How's your family adjusting to living here?
I mean, I think they love it from everything I could tell. You know, like the kids are at the age now where I'm not sure they would tell us that they didn't like it, because I think mom and dad are pretty happy being here. But when we ask them, they say they love it. Their schools are great and all that. They're making friends, and things are adjusting pretty quick. Now,
do you have your go-to spots now? Like, you know, where do you go for lunch, for dinner, a place to relax with the family?
Yeah, we like to, well, we're pretty lucky. We live in a place where we can ride our bikes or walk to most restaurants. And so we'll bike downtown, Palo Alto, or we'll bike over to Town and Country, or we'll walk over to California Avenue. I think those are the three main spots we hit. And I don't know, we're trying to find our favorite spots right now. I feel like we haven't been here and been out enough to really know what favorite spots we have, but we sure enjoy kind of exploring this town.
Now, Kevin, do you still get lost
around here? That's a good question. Getting lost, I can get home, and I don't typically get lost. But if you ask me what was north, south, east, and west, I'd have no idea. I get confused sometimes in that, but no, I think this place is starting to become pretty familiar to us.
That's great. Coach Kevin, I read that you actually do surveys with your players.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do, if you don't mind, is that I would like to borrow some of those questions.
Okay.
Let's start with, how did you sleep the night before you accepted the job at Stanford?
Well, if we're going on hours, I would say 0. Before I accepted the job, or before I?
Well, let's do both. Mm-hmm.
I probably slept 2 hours the day before we accepted the job. The day before it was announced, I slept 0.
Wow.
Yeah, there was no.
Was it stressful or
no
exciting?
The day before I accepted the job, there was a lot. My wife and I were just talking a lot about, you know, pros and cons, and trying to decide if this is going to be a good fit for us. So we were just busy doing all that. The day before the announcement of the job, I had to tell my team in Illinois that I was leaving, and that was the hardest thing I've ever done, for sure. And so that was hard.
How long did it take for you to create your speech or your press release?
You know, the press release I had nothing to do with, really. It was more of the SIDs, but talking to the team, I've never really spent that much time like going through what I want to say. I don't want it to be contrived. I just want it to be from the heart. And you know, of course, when you're up at night, you're thinking about what you need to say. And so I just spoke from the heart. And the main thing that I wanted to tell them is whatever they feel is right. If they're angry, if they're sad, if they, you know, they're disappointed in me, if they feel like whatever they felt, that they were right. I thought that was important, because it's hard, and I made a lot of promises to kids that I wasn't keeping, as far as being there with them for that amount of time. And I thought we were going to be there. You know, you say our plan was to be there to retirement. There was no, I didn't know that we would even leave for Stanford at the time. And so when I said it, I meant it. But then you think back and it's like I'm disappointing a lot of these kids, and that was hard.
Now, how was your first meeting with the team, your first practice? How was it?
Here?
Yes.
Yeah. First meeting was rough in the sense of that one of their favorite players, one of their favorite coaches that was a former player here, Cassie Lickman. The team really liked her, and her role was kind of to help the team and be a mentor to them and all that. And she just didn't fit the way that I wanted staff. She's a great coach. She's a great person. Phenomenal person, actually, and super bright. It just the way I wanted to structure the staff and the relationships I felt like I needed to develop with the players. She wasn't going to be a good fit for me, and so I told the team right away that I wasn't going to keep her. And so the rest of the meeting, I'm not sure they heard anything else. I think they caught pieces of it, but that was really disappointing. But it needed to happen. I needed to pull the Band-Aid off. I wouldn't change anything about it because we got that out of the way, and then we got to start working towards developing our own relationships.
Now, last year was your first season, Pac-12 champions,
Yeah.
Final Four.
Yeah.
How was your first season with the team?
I would say I learned a lot. It's hard to. You don't know the players very well. I didn't know the players very well. We didn't have much time with them. A lot of them played beach, so we had about 4 weeks before the season started of spring training. That's it. I learned a lot about the players. I learned a lot about the Pac-12. I learned a lot about what it's like to be here at Stanford and the expectations that come with that. I feel like I'm going to be 100% better next year because I know more of what this is about. I think the Pac-12 championship was exciting, but we were disappointed. We had a bunch of goals, and the only one we didn't accomplish was winning the national championship, and that's going to be the goal here. I mean, we're in this room of home of champions.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen if you don't win it, you're disappointed, and that's why I came here. I want those expectations, but trying to help the team manage that and the difference of that of being at Stanford and being surrounded by that. I didn't know what I didn't know, and I learned a lot, and I think I'll be a lot better next year.
Now, Coach, if you don't mind me asking, back when you were still coaching at Illinois, what was your perception of the 2016 Stanford women's team who won the championship, obviously, of course?
Yeah.
What was your perception of them?
Well, I mean, we played them third weekend, so we saw that they were kind of work in progress. I thought they were young. They were super talented. They had really special player in Inky. I mean, Inky was one of the best players, and at the time we played her, she was still working her way back into it. It was fun to watch them. Everyone you play, you kind of feel attached to, not just for RPI reasons. You want to make sure they do a good job, but it was fun and interesting to watch that team really struggle for a while throughout the season and then come together, and you got to see the leadership of the group kind of, I don't know, it started to develop, and they really got hot in the tournament and made a nice run. And a lot of that was a development of the freshmen learning the game and coming together. You could see that from afar, but it really was the leadership of Inky. I thought that you could see from the outside that she was dragging that team to a national championship, and she was special enough to do that. So it's kind of fun to watch, and then to hear the stories about that team and that group, immediately after that, really, as we're getting back in the season, and to understand what that group was about and to see the lessons they learned was really rewarding for me and eye-opening. And I don't know, I was glad to be. It was nice to be there after that, to hear what it's like to be around a national championship team. I haven't been around one of those, or the year after. So it's my first experience with that.
Now, did you learn, when you joined Stanford, did you learn anything from this team that surprised you?
Did I learn anything from this team? I'm learning a lot about them, their personalities. I think the thing that everyone talks about, the Stanford athlete and how into school they are and all that, and they really are. Like, they really love. To me, it's a perfect student athlete. They love academics, and when they say it, it's not like they just get good grades. They're really into their classes. I mean, you sit down and like, how's class? Like, man, my classes are great, and they're talking about this, I don't know, the future of economics, and they're talking about these things, and you're just like blown away, not just with what they're thinking and what they're talking about and the way that they're understanding this information, but their enthusiasm towards that. And then you talk about volleyball, and you get the same level of enthusiasm.
Mm-hmm.
I had good students in Illinois, and there's certainly some students that were very similar to these the Illinois students that were similar to the Stanford students, but the majority of these guys are like that, and it's just really cool to be around them, trying to achieve at such a high level. And really, a lot of them will do things that are amazing off the volleyball court, and it'll be fun to see how to go through that process with them and to see what they become, because where their minds are right now and the things that they're taking in, it's just you can see them trying to process, like, what am I most interested in, what am I excited about, and all that. And I'm learning that that's a big part of what it's like to be at Stanford, and it's really cool. It's a really cool job to be around that.
Now, Coach Kevin, let's take a walk down memory lane and talk about your early years playing volleyball.
When I had dark hair. Playing volleyball?
Yeah.
Oh, playing
Yeah,
volleyball.
playing.
Yeah.
You had a great collegiate career with BYU from 92 to 95, first team All-American in your senior year. You hold a school record for the most blocks.
I did, yeah. Ryan Millard took that away from me. So
oh, wow.
Yeah, it's okay. Ryan Millard, it's okay, yeah.
How was college for you, Coach?
BYU it's a different kind of school. You know, it's being a Mormon school. So I don't know that I really connected with the campus the way that you'd want to. I certainly had a good time and made a lot of great friends, but the religious aspect of it never really resonated with me. But the volleyball team and my teammates were amazing. The guys, guys I played with, a lot of them are coaching now, and Hugh McCutcheon and Jason Watson and Sean Patchell, and there was guys, Ethan Watts, who was an Olympian, and there's a bunch of these guys that were Scott Larkin, Jesse Cann, and All-Americans, and all these guys. We had a great group of guys, and we all really connected at a high level, and we built a program. The year before I got there, they were 2-22, and we were terrible. I watched them, and my friends were like, "Why are you going there?" And the reason I was going was because of Carl McGowan, who recently passed, but and to be a part of trying to build something special. And we were doing that, and you could see it. And my second to last year, my junior year, we were second in the country, and actually lost to Stanford here with a chance to go to the Final Four. And it just would have been nice to kind of have closure to that and finish that. But we're very proud of, I think all of us are very proud of what we built, because now you see what BYU is, and I think we feel like we were kind of the beginning of that.
Are you still in touch with any of your teammates from 23 years ago?
Yeah, some of them we connect with, and I see them, and being back in California and recruiting more in California, some of their kids are playing, they're out playing in clubs and all that, which is crazy. It's just, we're getting old, but yeah, of course. And some of the BYU women's players who we're connected with too, I see them as well. So we're in contact, and the guys that are in the coaching profession, of course, you see them, Watson and McCutcheon, and we talk a lot. So.
Now, just back to your college years, how were you as a student athlete?
I was a knucklehead. I was really just wanted to be a volleyball player. I probably played more basketball and volleyball than studied. I wasn't a good student until I went and played professional and went back to school to finish, and then all of a sudden getting straight A's. So it's just I was too caught up and too worried about being an athlete as opposed to being a student athlete, and I would have taken that back.
No, it's really not easy to be an athlete at the same time, because you have all these expectations being a student athlete. Was there ever a time that you struggled balancing both, and what did you do to cope?
Yeah, I did. There was no balance. It was all athletics. I didn't balance the academic side of it the way you should, and I learned a lot from that. And I would say that I was so driven to try to be the best player I could be that I wasn't really caught up in being the best student I could be. I wasn't getting a lot of pressure from home. McGowan and Carl put some pressure on me, but I never really found that balance, to be honest. Which is disappointing. These guys in this age group are a lot better at that than I am.
Do you miss college?
Do I miss college? I don't. It's hard. That's hard to say. That makes it seem like you'd want to go back. I wouldn't change anything about where I'm at. I love where I'm at in this moment. It's a really cool moment in my life with my kids the age they are and being in this place and the beginning of what I hope is a long time. But college is fun, and playing college. And I miss my body, feeling like my body felt in college. To be able to go out and play 3 hours of hoops on a Saturday and then turn around and play a volleyball match the next day or the same day or whatever. I miss that for sure.
Did you have life outside volleyball?
Well, we did, certainly. It was, but there was a lot of hanging out with your friends and just goofing around. Stuff we probably shouldn't talk about.
Now, after BYU, you became a professional athlete. You played in France for one season. What made you decide to turn pro?
Well, that was kind of what I wanted to do the whole time. And then, so I got this really good opportunity in Montpellier, which is a great place. And I played, and I had a blast, and I loved it. It didn't resonate with me as much I didn't like the idea of being a mercenary. The idea, I talk about why I went to BYU. We wanted to build something special, and it never felt like we were trying to build anything special at the professional level. Just you're getting paid, and you're just trying to win, and that never really grabbed me. I love playing. I like the guys, and it was fun. I loved living in that area. It felt a lot like Southern California, actually, but it didn't grab me as much. So I did try to go play the next year. I had an opportunity in Fano, Italy. It wasn't working out, and then I was actually on my way to Argentina to go play in Buenos Aires, and a coaching opportunity kind of pulled me away from that. But I thought I'd have played a lot longer, actually. But it just as I thought about it more, and I had the opportunity to coach, it didn't really grab me the same way that being around college athletics grabs me.
Now, when did the offer to work UNLV, right?
UNLV was my first.
When did that offer come up?
I was literally holding a contract to sign with Buenos Aires.
Oh, wow.
In a club in Buenos Aires. And then Teacher Collins was, and also another university, Tulsa University, was trying to get me interested. But I was living in Vegas because it's no state tax, and it was a place we could buy a house. And my wife at the time, actually, she's from that area, so we had a home there, and we were going to go play and then come back and kind of make that our home base. And so being at UNLV, it made sense to kind of stay there. And so I was going, hey, do I want to coach or do I want to do this? And the coaching thing just made more sense.
Now, Coach Kevin, what was the sign or the ultimate sign that kind of made you realize that, hey, coaching is my calling?
Well, I kind of always knew I wanted to be a coach. Honestly, the first time that I knew I wanted to coach was I think a junior in high school, and I coached a little kid basketball league, and I was way more into basketball when I was younger. Basically up to my senior year in high school, I was much more of a basketball player. So I was coaching these little kids in basketball, and I just loved teaching and trying to get them to work together and try to find creative ways to score and offensive plays and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. And I was so into athletics that it just made sense that I wanted to be a coach. And I didn't really know at what level. I thought maybe high school and all that. But once I hit college volleyball and started playing, I really knew that's what I wanted to do, was coach college.
So coaching, you found coaching instead of coaching finding you?
Yeah, I went to college with the idea that I was either going to go try to make movies and write movies or be a coach. And the coaching thing made more sense.
Wow. After you left UNLV, bigger things happened in your career. Assistant coach Team USA with Team USA from 2001 till 04.
Yeah, the quad.
With Toshi Yoshida. 2004, University of Illinois hired you as their assistant coach. Coach Don Harden was the head coach at that time. 2009, you became the head coach, and then 2017 you joined Stanford. These are a lot of kind of career changes. How did you handle these changes? Because from UNLV, Team USA, then Illinois, and then Stanford.
Well, the move from UNLV, I was really learning what it was like to be a coach. I think I learned a lot. Teacher Collins was a first-time head coach, and I think between us and Ruben Herrera was there as well. There was some good volleyball knowledge, but I'm not sure we knew how to run a program that well compared to, I think, probably how we're running a program now or what we did at Illinois. And so it was cool to be a part of trying to figure out how to run a program. And I think by the end, things were getting better and we were understanding better to run it. But I had some opportunities to move on, but I was really loyal to Dietra and I wanted to stay there. And then the national team thing popped up. And, I was in the USA gym a little bit as a player, and I always wanted, that was my goal, was to get to the Olympics and do that. I think that's every kid's goal, but it wasn't in the cards. I wasn't big enough or athletic enough to go do that. And so the opportunity to coach in the Olympics was something that was the next, obviously, if you want to go to the Olympics, still I'm going to get there. I'm not going to join another sport. And so that decision was relatively easy to go because it was just something that I thought would be an amazing experience, and it was. And so that transition was easy. Then the quad's ending, and I needed to find a job. You know, Toshi wanted to keep me around. He thought he might stick around for another 4 years. I didn't want to do another quad. I loved my experience. I accomplished what I wanted to as far as go to the Olympics and see what that is and learn a lot about the international game. But college was pulling me back in. I really wanted to get back to this age group. I enjoy this age group. I enjoy the development and the growth of this age group. And so Don Harden called me and asked if Mary and I, who played for Don as a player at Illinois, my wife Mary, wanted to come back and coach there. Honestly, I kind of jumped at the chance. I always thought Illinois was a place that was kind of a sleeping giant and could take off. And so that transition was easy as well. Like, I just feel like the transitions made sense and they were easy. And the whole time we were there, as we got there, we knew we'd take over. So it was just kind of seamless. And then the decision to come here was probably the hardest decision, just because of what we built. So I don't know if I'm answering your question exactly, but like all of them just made sense as far as where we were at that stage and the goals that we had and the things that we wanted to accomplish. I mean, to be honest, the only thing that was the hesitation here was I really enjoyed building something, and winning the national championship. It's totally the opposite of that. You know, with all these young kids, it's more of trying to maintain. And it wasn't until I started talking to the administration here that I realized that there's some things that we could still continue to build and grow, and that's when I got excited about this opportunity here.
Now, Kevin, between '96 and before coming here to Stanford, was there ever a time that maybe you were like, hey, is coaching really for me?
No, honestly, I've never had that thought. I've always just really enjoyed coaching. I think it surprises just my wife that she thinks I need to coach at the highest level, and I don't necessarily need that. I really enjoy coaching. I really enjoy working with players. Yesterday we did individuals all morning. Different kids came in and out, and that was the best day I've had so far here. I think we saw 5 athletes. I just love it. I just love the teaching. It's the juice for me. I could coach club, I could coach high school, I could just coach, probably not high school. High school is just not fun.
No high school.
No high school, but I just love coaching. So I don't see myself doing anything else moving forward.
No, I read one of your interviews from last year, and the interview by Volleyball.com mentioned a few people that you've worked with and that you look up to. So I'm going to throw in some names, and you can just tell me the best lesson or the best advice they've ever given to you. Starting with Carl. McGowan.
Man, he gave me a lot. I think the thing I really enjoyed about Carl, this is like his gift, is he keeps things very simple. Like, keep it simple, stupid. It's one of the things he'd say, and I think that he does a great job as a teacher. He did a great job as a teacher of making things very simple, and I try to emulate that as much as possible. And it also helped me because every kid can complicate things. And that really resonated with me amongst a lot of other things. My favorite saying, I'll give you one more, just because he's special. But my favorite saying he said to me was, "I hear a lot of chopping, but I don't see a lot of chips flying." And that really had an impact on me because I think. And what I took that as and what he meant by it is there's a lot of talk going on, but is there any action? And you get in groups sometimes and there's a lot of talk, but there's not really a lot of action going on. And I've always tried to make sure to kind of check myself and check others around me to make sure that we actually are, that you do see the chips flying as opposed to just a lot of chopping.
Now we have, is it Dieter Collins?
Dietrich Collins.
Dietrich Collins.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The thing I learned from Dietrich most is that you can be a really good human being in this, and that don't lose your soul. That was the thing that I think that she talked a lot about, is that, and she would not do, is she would never sell out. She'd never sell her soul for winning. Like, she just, who she is as a human being meant more. And as good of an athlete as she was, and as good of a coach as she is, I always felt like she was true to herself, and I really respected that. I do respect that about her.
Coach Toshi Yoshida.
Toshi, there wasn't a saying or anything like that, but he's just one of the best teachers I've ever been around, and the creative ways that he goes about teaching. And the thing that I learned most from him is that if the player can't get it and they're trying hard and they have the intention, that's on you. Figure out a way to make it for them to teach you, for you to teach them. Then you have to be more creative. You have to try something different. You have to find one way to get them to understand what you're trying to teach. And he's a master at that, and the best I've been around. And Carl is a great teacher. Carl's more systemic about how he does it. Goshi more fit things into the athletes, and to have those two as people that I got to work with, I'm pretty fortunate that way.
Don Harden.
Don Harden taught me how to run a program. He does an amazing job, and there's a lot that goes into that, but just about being aware of everything that goes into a program. Like so little of this job that I have now has to do with in the gym and coaching. That's why I love my time with the individuals when you're working with players. So much more of it is managing marketing, managing ticket sales, managing recruiting, managing compliance, managing all these things. And I mean, basically the job is answer questions all day about everything that has nothing to do with volleyball. And Don really showed me a good roadmap in the beginning to how to run a program, and then I got to kind of make it my own, which was really exciting.
Now, if you could take all of them somewhere here in the Bay Area for dinner, do you have any perfect place for them?
Bird Dogs, I think, is where I take them. I think they'd all enjoy that. There's good wine there. It's a good. I don't know if you're aware of that. It's in Palo Alto. I love that.
I've heard of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite places. If it was we want to be a little bit more festive, I'd probably take them up to San Francisco and go to Lulu's, which is like a Mexican Spanish kind of place. Those two are kind of my favorite. Good question. Good carnitas at Lolo's.
Carnitas.
Carnitas. If you like carnitas?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the best I've had since I was in Tijuana in 1999 or no, 2002. So yeah.
That's looking forward to that reunion with you and
Carl. We'll invite you.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll take a note of that.
Yeah.
You've been around volleyball for what, more than 20 years?
Yeah.
Let's just kind of trim this down. The most significant change you've seen in volleyball in the last 10 years?
Rally scoring.
Rally.
It's changed the game. It's improved it tremendously. I think it's held everyone more accountable to every single contact, and I think it's changed everything about the game.
So do you like the challenge system as well? Just wondering.
The challenge system, I think the college game, the international is they have much better camera systems, and they put a lot more resources into it, and it's better. Here, I think we have a lot of work to do. Calibrated cameras, better system. Nothing's the fault of like DVS Sport, which is what we use. It's more of us as coaches and administrators trying to figure out and committing to make it a better product for the fans. And then I also think we should show it on the board like they do at FID and like let everyone see it. And I think it brings a lot of intrigue and interest. I think there's things we're talking about as coaches that we can make that a lot better.
Now, how do you keep your players looking so calm and collected during matches?
How do I keep them? I don't think I keep them that way. I think that a lot of the players are that way. I want to be consistent, and so I've been accused of being too calm probably in matches and not getting excited. I would say that there's a quiet intensity about the way that communicate and do things, and I think you can hold teams accountable without yelling and screaming and making a lot of noise. I think you can so I try to make sure that the team is steady. I don't know that calm is always what I'm looking for, but a lot of these players at Stanford feel like they play better calm, and so that's where they play. And I think at Illinois, I attracted a lot of players that they look on the court and they see the coach, and I wasn't yelling and screaming, and they felt like that worked for them. I've had players though that are nuts. Tammy Alada is pretty crazy on the court. I wouldn't say she's calm, and I just want her to be her, and I want all of them to be themselves. So I just think for us is that we don't want to ever panic, and for me to be consistent, I have to stay very calm. I don't want to get into panic mode either.
Now, what do you tell them when the team is winning?
It just depends on the moment. I don't have any go-to phrases or things. You conceptually want to go moment by moment and be the best we can in every single moment and keep trying to get better, not look too far ahead. But I don't know. I don't go into it saying I need to do this, this, and this, or I need to say this and this, and go to this phrase. I think there's certainly ways we want to play the game and ways we want to communicate the game. and then whatever kind of feedback we need to give to keep them in that is what I use in that moment.
Now, Kevin, social media is huge, especially for the millennials. Do you have any rule or policy about your players using social media?
We just talk about don't embarrass the program, don't embarrass yourself. I put a lot of trust in the players, and our sports information department kind of does some educational things. A lot of the stuff on campus with our life skills, they do some things to help educate them as well. So I don't feel like we need to have long conversations about it. I think they're also, a lot of times they talk about their own brand, trying to create their brand and understanding that whatever brand you create in college is going to carry with you for the rest of your life. I think there's a lot of education about that, where there's not a lot of gaps for us to fill as coaches, at least here at Stanford. So we had very few conversations about it with the players because it's already been covered.
Now, I know I read that you do this no phone, get off your phone for an hour, more than an hour, have dinner with for your team.
Yeah.
How did it come up? I'm just wondering.
Well, how did it come up? That's a great question. I wanted our players to connect. One year I felt like our team wasn't connecting the way that I'd like them to. We had a mix of old and young. And I just thought back to what it was like before we had cell phones, and how much I enjoyed not having a cell phone, actually, and how much I enjoyed conversations, and how much better we were at being in the moment in front of us. And also what happens in conversation. So if we went to dinner, as just the two of us, the first 15 to 20 minutes, it'd be a lot of small talk. And then there'd be this awkward silence. And then we'd start to talk about some real things.
That's very true.
Yeah. And so I wanted to force that real conversation, talk about real things, because we got to get to that awkward silence. Because what happens otherwise is you talk for the 15, 20 minutes, someone goes to the bathroom, checks their phone, someone else is on the phone, and then people start sharing things that are on their phone, or what they see on their phone, and their conversations are around the things that they're, from these outside influences they're finding on their phone, and I want them to get away from that. And so I ask them to not only to put the phones away, to not have TVs up, but to sit and face each other and force real conversation. This is the only thing you get to look at for a while. This person that's in for the thing. The only thing you're looking at is this human being that's in front of you.
No filters.
Make a connection. And so we kind of created these rules to make sure that happened. And I got great feedback from the players. And I would say we did it with this year's team. We did a little bit bigger groups, but same rules, and they all came back and this was great. So we'll continue to do that moving forward.
I feel so bad now because because I play in leagues in San Jose, and after each game, when the match is over, instead of talking about the game, guess what we do? We go to our, then we start grabbing our phones, then we start checking.
I think that's everyone. There was actually one time after a practice that our assistant coach was saying, practice was over, I was over talking to a sports information person on our team, and he's like, all right, guys, let's go. And no one heard because they all had their faces in their phone. And I looked up and I just texted the whole group. You have the group thing. I'm like, all right, it's time to go. And they all looked at it and looked at me, and then we just started dying. I don't know if it's that funny, but that's just where we're at as a society, and that's how people want to communicate. And so I think the art of conversation is disappearing, and that's really disappointing to me because that's one of my favorite things. Is people ask me, what do you and your wife want to do? I want to go to dinner with her for a European-style 2.5-hour dinner and drink a bottle of wine and just talk the whole time. That's what I want to do with my friends. I don't need to do something else. I love the conversation. I love real talk. And so it makes me sad that the art of conversation is disappearing.
You know what? I need to start doing that with my younger brothers, because every time I visit them, they're always on their phones, and then I kind of do the same thing. I need to start doing that. I know, I really like that. Personally, I really like that. Coach Kevin, what makes an athlete a great athlete?
What makes him a great athlete or a great volleyball player?
Let's start with being a volleyball player.
Because great athletes, you win the genetic lottery, right? You just get this thing. But to be a great volleyball player, you have to work really, really hard and put a lot of time in, and it has to be intentional, just intentional practice. I mean, there's all this research about it now, but we've seen it for years. You go out and you work on your game, you're going to get better. I mean, the best players that I've been around are the ones that work the hardest. not always the most talented, not always the most athletic, but the ones that work the hardest. And so I don't think there's any real secret. It's just being willing to put yourself out there and challenge yourself and to grow and to adapt. And I think it's a pretty simple formula.
Now, what makes a great team, a volleyball team?
What makes a great volleyball team is a group of individuals that are willing to put their differences aside and put their egos aside and do what's best for the group. I don't think it's that complicated. I do think that you need some leadership to help hold people accountable to that. Hopefully that's coming from inside the team. I think when it comes from inside the team, it's stronger because the coaches can't be there all the time. But unselfish people, that's what makes a great team.
Now, how would you describe your own personality as a coach?
That's a good question. I never have thought about my personality as a coach. People would describe me as as chill, but
and that's a good kind of being chill, though. Right?
Chill. I think it's okay. I don't know. It depends. If you're winning, it's fine. If you're losing, it's you're not intense enough. That's every coaching style. If you're a yeller and you're winning, it's great. If you're and you're on them all the time, if you're losing, then you don't have the sense of what the team needs. I mean, so looking at it from externally. I think, and who people think you are as a coach isn't always the best judge. I think of myself, if I think of like just processing this as you're asking that question, I'm very inquisitive. I'm not afraid to try things. I'm constantly I read a book called Kaizen, which is kind of haunted me because it's a Japanese concept that means you can always, basically, no matter how good you are at something, you can always get better. You can always try to improve. There's a way to be more efficient, and so I'm constantly asking myself questions. Every practice, I'm like, how can that be better? Ask the staff that question, ask myself that question. Every season, how can we be better? Just constantly trying to get better and constantly trying to grow. But in a very kind of casual way. It's not like this intense. I don't think that you'd see me and I'm like grinding. I'm just constantly processing things as we move along.
I don't think I've ever seen you like intense on when you're out there during a match. No.
I mean, there's intensity going on. Certainly, like I'm not emotional, but I want to win. I want to compete, and I feel inside like there's this intensity. I just haven't found that me showing that and being emotional in front of with the team has served well, because whatever my emotional roller coaster that I'm going on, the team seems to, you want to be consistent. The team kind of follows that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not the way that I think is the right way to coach. I think I need to be pretty steady. So, but inside, there's definitely some highs and lows and some emotions going on. I just do a good job of hiding it.
Off the court, what's your personality like? Off the court,
I don't know, I'm pretty boring, I think. I'm pretty, I love being around my kids and my wife. I spend a lot of time there. I'd rather have a conversation at a restaurant than go hiking or go to the beach or do anything else like that. I really just want to find as many real moments as I can with people. That's kind of, I think if I had to think of my main motivation, it's how do I find those connections. I'm not super social. I don't like to go out and go to parties. I mean, I will, and I certainly do that. I just would rather kind of hang out and have a good conversation. And then be with my kids and my wife and share experiences with them. And that's what my wife and I talk a lot about what is life, and what is, if you get more money, what does that do? Do you buy better things? To us, it's more, create more experiences and try to create better experiences for us and our kids, and because that's really what you take away from life. And so I look for those all the time.
Now, what is your definition of success?
Definition of success in life, for me personally?
Yes.
Staying true to myself all the time and trying to be the best version of me that I can be, but just never losing sight of who I am. I don't have a tattoo, but the only one I would have would be Tumet Nose, which is, I've thought about it. I've almost gotten it, but I'm chicken. Excuse me. But that's a pretty big commitment. I've been sitting on this one for probably 15 to 20 years, but that means know yourself, and I think that's if you know yourself and you are yourself, you be the best version of that, then what more can you do?
Now, what is the most challenging part of your job?
Most challenging part of my job is probably just dealing with all the pieces and all the plates that are spinning all the time. You know, like any one of them, I think dealing with the athletes is they're great kids. They want to be the best they can be. It's fine. Dealing with staff, they want to be great. It's more of just managing all the plates and trying to keep them all spinning. There's a lot of plates, and the bigger the program you go to, the more plates there are, and the more people that you got to try to you have to manage. And just managing all that, keeping it all together, I think is the biggest challenge for me.
Now, the best advice you can give to someone who wants to be like Coach Kevin Hambly or become a coach?
Yeah, I'd say don't try to be like like me, and don't try to be like Russ Rose, and don't try to be like Brian Jim and don't try to be like Mary Wise.
Be original.
Just be you. That's the advice I would give all the time. And so I've been around Russ quite a bit, Russ Rose, and everyone, you know, like Russ is unique and he's great, and I love Russ. He's like one of my favorites. But when I was first around him, to me, the biggest strength of Russ is that Russ is always Russ, and that's what I feel like. That's what I learned from him, is just always be me and stay true to that. And if you are always yourself coaching, you know, the most important thing in coaching is trust with your players and trust with your staff. And I think where people lose that trust is not being genuine to who they are, and they get outside of themselves, and then you lose the trust in your team. If you are always you, no matter what your faults are, especially with this age group, everyone has faults and they all understand that, and they're pretty resilient. You can make mistakes as long as you're true to yourself, and you're not going to hurt that trust unless it's some big mistakes. But and so just being true to yourself is what I'd say.
Now, you said that you're kind of boring,
yeah.
But Kevin, if there were no rules in your life for one day and you could be outrageous, over the top, what would you do?
There are no rules in my life?
Yes.
Like there's no consequence?
Exactly.
I think, this is random. This is so random. It's a great question. I think every kid growing up, or every guy at least that I've talked to, wants to be part of a heist. I think I would want to be part of like a very elaborate Ocean's 11.
Ocean's 11.
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool. I don't know what role I'd play. I certainly wouldn't be the acrobat guy or anything, but I think that would. Some part of me wants to be part of a heist.
Now, do you see yourself leading that heist? You could be
I
Brad Pitt or George.
Brad Pitt. I think I'd rather be the two brothers that are holding the balloons in front of the camera or whatever. But no, I don't know. It wouldn't matter. I just want to be part of this big group that's trying to do a heist. There's no consequence.
I guess you have to do a lot of recruiting then.
Yeah, I think well, we're talking about no consequence. I think
yeah.
If that happened, if we could actually make it happen, I think there's some guys it would be pretty easy to get a group of guys that would want to do that.
Hey, we could have an Ocean's 11 kind of volleyball like crew, right?
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Name a lesson you learned as a child that still affects your life today.
A lesson as a child.
One of them.
Yeah. I was fortunate. I grew up in a pretty diverse area, and I had some friends that were African American, and I was able to see some things that happened with them, with police, like in a car where I'm in the back and got pulled over for absolutely no reason, and they got us out of the car, and I was the only white guy, and once I stepped out of the car, everything kind of changed. And I think that just opened my eyes to, I don't know what it's like to be in other people's shoes. And talk about winning the genetic lottery. And I'm this white male, you know, from lower middle class or whatever. I won a pretty good genetic lottery there compared to a lot of people. And I think that's had an impact on me where I just never assumed that I know what it's like to be in other people's shoes.
Now, speaking of that, Coach Kevin, if you could actually be an advocate for something to bring positive change to the lives of so many people all around the world, what would your advocacy be?
It would be women's rights, I think men have done an amazing job of beating women down for centuries. You know, I mean, my wife and I were just talking about this yesterday. I mean, I'm reading a book on Genghis Khan.
Mm-hmm.
It's appalling. Like, women weren't even considered people. You know, they were prizes when they. And I'm not going to get into what all that means, but it's just awful. And I think it's really exciting to see this Me Too movement and people stepping forward and being around these amazing women all the time, and seeing how society has tried to beat and has done a successful job of beating women down, no matter what race. I would be an advocate for that and do whatever I could to help with that.
Now, what is something that you have done as a coach that you will never do again? If there's anything.
When I was really young, there's a lot of things that I wouldn't do, like step on the court and cuss out an official. I think I was in playing mode. I mean, dropping F-bombs on officials and things like that. It didn't serve any purpose, and it didn't really help my team. Those, and then there was one time that I laid into a team really hard. That it was more about me than it was about the players. It was for me because I was frustrated when I was young, and the team wasn't playing to the level. And instead of me looking at them and going, "How can I help these guys get there?" I was embarrassed for me, and I lashed out at them because I was embarrassed, and I learned a lot from that.
Now, if you could go back to any year in your life, your past life, which year would you pick and why? Any year, since day one, yes.
I just can relive it. It doesn't change the future.
It doesn't change the future at all.
Wow. Probably 95, playing here against Stanford to go to the Final Four. Yeah, honestly. We were playing Mike Lambert and Ferner, and there's some things I could have done to help win that match, because I felt like that was an incomplete process that we had there, and this group of guys, we really fought hard for each other, and I just like another shot at that in that match.
Now, as a father, what are the best qualities a parent could share with their children?
The best qualities, I think, same as with coaching stuff, and just love them for who they are, and make sure that they understand that they need to love themselves for who they are, and instill confidence in them, and just allow them to be the best version of themselves, and just be them. I think that's what we're trying to do. Is whatever, we got some pretty cool kids, but they're quirky and they got their things going on, and just embrace what they are as individuals, and help them to try to embrace what they are as individuals as well, and be comfortable with that. I think that's a lot about what life's about.
Coach Kevin, how would you describe volleyball to a non-volleyball player? Don't let the balloon touch the floor.
Yeah, I mean, it's a simple game. Yeah, put the ball on this side, and I don't. Man, it would be, if I had to describe it, it'd be very technical, and it would be very boring. I think it would be, if I had to really describe it, it'd be, hey, here's the first contact, and people rotate, and there's 3 contacts, and that's how I describe it.
Don't touch the net.
Yeah, I mean, because that's where I'd go, just as boring as a human being as I am. But I think what we should talk about is probably that it's just this amazing sport where all these people have to do their job and connect on an emotional and physical level to be successful. And it's worth watching for that. There's a reason to watch it. It's because it's not like basketball where one person grabbed LeBron, like last night, has a whole new team and he has a triple-double. He basically does almost everything by himself. You can't do that. And it's a great team sport, and just enjoy what it is and see the people out there trying to play for each other, which is what makes it special.
Now, you coach a lot of great players. Is it possible to have someone who is not coachable be coachable?
Well, yeah, I think being coachable is about the connection with the person.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can, they don't care what you know if they don't know you, or if you don't know them, and I think, and if they don't know you care. And so I've had players that I haven't connected with right off the bat, that once we kind of work on our relationship and develop some things, and we can develop a level of trust, they become very coachable. So yeah, I think absolutely.
Before we go to the next part of this interview, we're almost done here, Coach. Any advice to your 10-year-old self?
It's gonna get better. When I was 10, I had really bad buck teeth, jacked up teeth. I wouldn't say I had a lot of friends, and like life's gonna be okay. Like it's gonna be better. Just keep being you, man. It's gonna be all right.
Now the next part is it's called rapid questions. So I'd be asking you all these random volleyball and non-volleyball questions.
All right.
It's like an icebreaker. Kevin Hambly, how tall are you?
6'7".
What is your favorite movie?
Seven Samurai.
Favorite song?
Favorite song, man. I and Love and You by Ava Brothers.
How does it go?
I'm not saying
Darn it.
That's not quick fire. Let's keep it.
You're in the Bay Area. Winter, spring, summer, or fall?
Spring.
Describe a perfect day in the life of Kevin Hambly.
Perfect day in the life of Kevin Hambly. Let's see. Wake up, eat breakfast, go on a hike with the kids, come back, shower, spend downtown day drinking, hanging out in downtown Palo Alto with my family, and have dinner and come back and crash while watching a movie.
I think I probably know the answer on this one. Beer or wine?
Wine.
The last thing that you do before you go to sleep?
Watch one of my 7 movies that I've watched enough times that I can fall asleep to. So those would be Day of the Jackal, I think the movie was 1969, or Spy Game, or any one of these movies. I just have a bunch of movies that I watch that are mindless and I can go to sleep.
The first thing that you do when you wake up?
Actually, my dog, when I wake up, my alarm goes off, my puppy jumps on my face and starts licking it, and then so I cuddle with him for a while, and then I turn on one of these podcasts that gives you the daily news, and I hop in the shower.
As a side note, by the way, out of the almost 100 volleyball personalities I've interviewed, you're the only one who doesn't check his phone before he goes to sleep, who doesn't check his phone when he wakes up.
Yeah. I get to that at some point. But...
your favorite superhero?
Favorite superhero? I think Spider-Man. I think with the Marvel stuff that's come out, I really like the Spider-Man character.
The most beautiful place you and your family have ever been to?
Me and my family. Man, probably Half Moon Bay. It's pretty
beautiful.
It's
yeah,
gorgeous. Yeah, as a group, yeah.
The last time that you played volleyball, like you playing, knee pads on, volleyball shoes on?
That's easy. 2004, right before the quarterfinal of the Olympics, I was playing with the team there.
You still got it, Coach?
No.
No?
Not even close. I'm ground bound. I'm not even sure I can leave the ground anymore.
Yes or no, can you cook?
Yes.
The last time that you laughed so hard, when was it?
Probably 3 or 4 days ago.
Best part of being Maura and Quinn's father?
Just watching them grow up and seeing their personalities.
Fill in the blank, there's no place like...
There's no place. Like, my mind goes to home. There's really no place like Champaign, Illinois. Honestly, that place is very unique, very cool.
A nice shirt or a nice coat?
Pair of shorts.
How long does it take for you to fix your hair?
0.
0?
0 time.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
Name a wish you have for yourself.
That I can get myself in some kind of shape that I can actually play, or like play some hoops or something like that.
A wish you have for your family.
I just hope my kids find something that that is rewarding, and they're as excited about as I am every single day, because it's pretty easy to wake up in this life that I have and be excited.
A wish you have for the world.
That we just stop being so hard on each other and tough on each other in every aspect, and just love.
Now, yes or no, do you talk to your wife? She's also a coach, correct?
She's a director of operations. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But she played volleyball in the past, and then she was coaching as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys talk about volleyball at home?
We talk about the job, but not a lot of volleyball. Not about, hey, this rotation or this. This is not what we talk about.
Hugs or kisses?
I'm sorry.
Hugs or kisses?
Depends with who. Hugs for everyone. Kisses for my kids and my wife.
Now, flowers or chocolates?
Wine.
Valentine's Day is coming up. Any plans? If it's a surprise, you don't have to.
No, it's okay. Our whole family's going out to dinner for a Valentine's meal.
Your favorite spot here on campus?
There's Copa Cafe. That's an outdoor little area, and it's this little dish that's there. It's where the old library used to be. I don't know what that actual area is. I love it. That's fun.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you at the moment?
Say 8.5, 9.
I'm sorry?
8.5 or 9.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now we're almost done here. I will throw in some names again, by the way. Okay. And all you have to do is say a few words, thank you words to these people or this person who have always been there for you since day one, on and off the court. I'm going to start with your family, your mom and dad.
I wouldn't be in volleyball without my mom, so thank you, Mom. And Dad, thanks for being hard on me.
Your wife, Mary.
She's my best friend.
Your daughters?
They are the most entertaining human beings I've ever been around, and I love hanging out with them every single day.
University of Illinois.
They gave me my start, and they were really committed to helping us, the whole community, to helping us grow as people and as coaches. And I don't know, they'll always have a soft spot in our whole family's heart.
Stanford University.
This is hopefully the place where we end, and it's as special as, it exceeded my expectations about how special it is, and I'm very fortunate to be here every single day.
Now, the coaching staff, past and present.
Just thanks for putting up with my crap.
The fans.
I kind of, well, this is different, but I mean, I especially people that come, it's great, their support, but just take it easy on the players. Take it out on the coaches, don't take it out on the players.
Now, what if 3 Kevin Hamblys appear like right in front of us right now?
That would be awful.
Kevin from the past, Kevin from the present, and Kevin from the future. What would you want to tell Kevin from the past?
Don't change anything about how you ended up here.
Kevin from the present.
Just make sure you enjoy every moment you're in.
Kevin from the future. Dye that hair, I'm kidding.
Yeah, no. Kevin from the future, I just want to ask and listen. I wouldn't know what I'd tell them.
No, Coach, this is one of the most famous questions I always ask my guests. What is the sound of a giraffe? No, I'm kidding. No, I'm not gonna.
What?
The sound of a giraffe. No, I'm kidding. We're gonna end this interview with this question. All you need to do is just fill in the blank, and we're good to go. Hey, Bollywood. I am Coach Kevin Hambly, and I am.
Hi, Volleyball. I am Coach Kevin Hambly, and I am an extremely lucky human being.
There you go. Hey.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks, Ace.